Always great catching up with my next guest. It's been a while. We were just talking about that off camera, but he's got a big fight here, taking on Kris Moutinho in a rematch, this time in Cage Titans 68, November 9th. It's Johnny Campbell. Johnny, how you doing, man?
Fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Yeah,
It's good to
cool.
see you. Good to be back on.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. Next time, maybe we won't have such a long gap in between interviews. I think we counted 2016 was the last time you and I did an interview. But big fight here, man. Fighting Montinho. Obviously, we'll talk about the history you guys have. But tell me how this all came together. Like, when did you find out about it, and how did the fight materialize?
So it materialized. I was really supposed to be fighting his teammate, Carlos Lozoya.
Mm.
Carlos said publicly on multiple platforms that his next fight would be cupcakes. And for like the third time, I've been trying not to like make it a thing. I'm known for trash talking, and I like Carlos, and I understand that people make certain moves for their career and whatnot. So I kind of understand where he's coming from. But yeah, he basically dropped out for the third time. Didn't want to fight after saying that he was going to fight me. And honestly, I think I've been asking for the Motino rematch for years and years, and giving him that opportunity, and he never was willing to step up and take it. And I think after Carlos was going to drop out the third time, I think there was pressure from his team to fight me. And he's also on a 4-fight win streak, and being able um, to to win this fight, I think it positions him very well for a step to the next level. Being able to prove that one of the last guys that was able to whoop his ass. If he's able to come out and have a good performance, I think that he looks at it as an opportunity as well. But I do believe that there's an immense amount of pressure for him to take this fight, where I've been so vocal about granting him the opportunity to fight again, and then also with his teammate just being unwilling to commit to fighting me for whatever reason after more or less committing and then
Mhm.
backing out again. So, yeah, I think it's pressure and opportunity that he sees. And that's how it came together. Polvez said it was a go. I had a name of another former UFC fighter that I was entertaining, but Motino, I just love this matchup. And I had to say yes.
Yeah, and it's come together. And if people haven't sort of figured it out, there's a little bit of bad blood there. I interviewed Kris last week. He talked about some of the stuff that happened, obviously with you defeating him, and then things happening after. I want to get your perspective though. Like, where did this go from being just a fight to that you guys had a while back to now? There's I don't know if it's personal, but definitely some bad blood going into this fight.
Yeah, there was bad blood going into the first fight. I think that he is like sort of a child for whatever reason and doesn't really understand the entertainment value of mixed martial arts. So, I mean, in my first fight, honestly, I was being pretty respectful, based on history, and the way that I usually conduct myself. So I was just basically stating facts about the fight. He took it like, some kind of way. And going into that first fight, he was very like ornery at the weigh-ins. He didn't want to shake my hand. If you watch the fight back, I think I tried to glove touch him like twice during the fight, and he was unwilling to do so. So I felt for whatever reason he was bringing emotions into the fight that were unnecessary. And I mean, if you watch the weigh-ins closely, when we weigh in for that first fight, I say to him, don't be emotional right now. Like, I
Mhm.
don't know why you're
Mhm.
fucking, you shouldn't fight like that. I don't know why you're doing that. And, and then, yeah, so after the fight, they had tested me for substances, and I am an avid smoker of marijuana. So I failed that drug test.
Mhm.
And at that time, the commission was being very strict with those rules, and they sent me a letter saying that they were going to revoke my victory over Kris, and that I was going to be suspended for a period of time. He got a similar letter, takes a picture of it. The letter has my information on it, my address.
Oh
He
no.
posted it on Facebook. So it was like, and it also was a very vague letter. Like, in the letter, it could have been construed that I had tested positive for steroids,
Oh,
possibly.
okay.
So So now it's out there. My address is on the internet. I know all his people, all his little minions are reading that I tested positive for a substance and I was going to be, disciplined for it. And yeah, it circulated briefly, at least. I came out immediately and was like, dude, that was for weed. Let's chill the fuck out
Yeah.
here. I know
Yeah.
I was clean as fuck otherwise. And yeah, so it circulated briefly that I was, using steroids in order to beat him, which was ridiculous because I've never been that type of athlete. I've always, cherished natural things like, certain minerals that boost testosterone and things like that. Red meat, eggs, things like cholesterol have a huge impact on testosterone production. And in this society today, we just don't eat enough cholesterol. So I've always been natural and really championed that, and for it to even circulate for minutes that I was potentially cheating in order to beat Kris, it was ridiculous. All I needed was my right hand and my left hand. I didn't need anything else other than that. I just needed his face to stay where it was for 1 second so I could hit it, and then that fight was over. And yeah, so I was immediately in like a not a good place. I had a battle to get that back. I had to stop smoking marijuana and get drug tested. Then it turned out that the commission had made a mistake anyway, and they were testing levels of THC that were like from an old
Yeah.
system or what have you, and they weren't testing for their updated amounts. So it ended up being that I was in, I mean, honestly, if I'm being honest, I probably was over the limit for marijuana, but because they made a mistake, it was like I was in the clear basically. So, but it was like a pain in the butt. It was not a good time. I'm like, I'm fighting every single fight, especially with my record. Like I beat these guys that are like, on the rise. That's a huge thing for me. And everybody, for the most part in the MMA community, knows what it takes to get in that cage. I mean, it's weeks of dieting and discipline and training, and then you get in there, you fight another person who's doing the exact same things, and when you win that fight, it is so crucial that you keep that W.
Yeah.
So even the fact that I could potentially have lost that win on my record was just like a thorn in my side. I get it back, and then it's just there was so much drama involved that I have always been like, hey Kris, if you wanted to try to fight again, I would definitely be open to that, because now I want to beat you up just for the shit storm that was caused from all this. And I know that I can beat him also. I mean, I did it once, we'll do it again. And he knows that. He knows that I have the tools to beat him, and that's why he's run from this fight for like however long, 5 years, and he's in a position now where it's like do or die, and he kind of has to take it. And we all know that on fight night, the same thing is going to happen. I'm going to hit him in the chin, I'm going to hurt him, and I'm going to finish him. Whether it's the first, the second, or the third round, everyone knows that that's what's going to happen. The question is, how incredible is this fight going to be? Because Kris is so tough. Cupcakes is so dynamic, so unpredictable. Like, what the fuck is going to actually happen? And that's why we have to fight, because everybody wants to know what that's going to be like, even though we all know the result is going to be exactly the way it was in the first one.
Love it. Okay, I didn't know any about this. So this is the letter. I didn't know, like, because I asked Kris, I was like, what is it? And he's like, stuff happened, but I didn't know about any of this. So this kind of
Kris has a hard time putting sentences together. So when you ask him questions that require like a paragraph's worth of speaking, he's gonna probably miss a few key details.
Gotcha. Let's talk about him though quickly. Like, I'm sure you've seen him since you guys had fought the first time. Do you feel there's any areas he's improved? Like, what type of Kris Moutinho are you expecting on November 9th?
He has cooler hair now. I think that's like the that's one thing that like sticks out the most. He has cooler hair. He has more of a character now. He's got more of a brand, I guess, the soulless, yada yada. But no, I mean, he's identically the same guy. If anything, I think I'm actually gonna face a more different Kris than anyone is really used to seeing. If you go back to his amateur fights when he was basically just a wrestler coming up. That was the by far the most dangerous Kris Moutinho that anyone has ever seen.
Mm.
He has literally declined since being an amateur fighter, and he does win fights, and he is a skilled fighter. I don't mean to take too much away, but like when he got away from his wrestling is when he really, I'd say struggled the most in his career. So as we saw in my fight, as we saw in the O'Malley fight, I mean, when he fights guys that have elite striking abilities, he struggles greatly. And I think that we will see a Kris Moutinho who is more dedicated to that wrestling style on November 9th. I have a feeling that he's going to watch fights like the Jay Perrin fight, the Jeff Perez fight, and he's going to take a play out of their playbook, if you will, and he's going to probably push the pace, try to get in my face, march me down, as he typically does. But I think he's going to stay away from the striking exchanges and look to just put this against the fence. And it will be my job to keep the space, create the space, get off the cage, and find that chin, that golden chin.
Tell me a bit about camp, like who you're working with, who some of the main training partners are that are preparing you for this rematch.
Yeah, I mean, I got Zach DiSabatino, one of the best 55ers in the area. Antoine Caprata has been back in the gym. It's been great to be able to be working with him. Manny Bermudez is in.
He's nice. I haven't heard from Manny in forever. I hope he's doing well. He's a talented guy. Just unfortunate what happened in the UFC and all that. But that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. So.
Yeah, I know, and he's still in the gym. He's just a way bigger Manny Bermudez. So he was, he was no fun to train with back then when he was at like 60, and he's way less fun to train with at like 200. But he's a wealth of knowledge. I mean, the guy has incredible jiu-jitsu, incredible boxing, and MMA abilities. So he's always still in the gym, sharing that with everyone. I got Christina Katsikas, the meat grinder. She'll be on display on November 9th as well, and she's training hard, and we're doing a lot of wrestling rounds with her. Danielle Hindley, who's the dark horse, she's black belt in jiu-jitsu, and she's like a small individual, but has like an incredible ability to control people somehow. So she's always giving me different things that amplify my game across the board, whether it's MMA or jiu-jitsu or even striking. Her taekwondo is some of the best that nobody really knows about. Mike Danella, I don't shout him out enough. He's a fantastic boxer, striker, and grappler now too, really, actually. But started off mainly as a boxing practitioner, and man, he's just always helping us out, always helping us grow. Ryan White, the Great White, who hasn't fought in a long time, but he's an amazing striker and brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's a bigger fellow too, but he helps me out a lot. So yeah, we got a lot of good people in there, so many amateurs and stuff, so many people who haven't even fought yet, who are in there grinding, that are just making us all better. And I got a huge amount of respect for South Shore Sport Fighting, and I got to just shout them out as a team.
No, I like it. And I love hearing, I always ask, like, fighters, sometimes when I interview fighters, they're like, oh, I train with a bunch of guys that aren't notable. I'm like, well, tell me about them. Cause like a lot of these like notable, fighters that we might not know, we're probably going to hear about them soon. So I always love hearing about the up and comers as well, which is great. So you talked about, the fight and how you think it's going to go. What about you and your career? Like, obviously you want to put this to bed, this whole rivalry, this fight. I know you already defeated him, but like you said, you want to, leave no stones unturned and get the fight done. But where do you go from here? You're 37 years young. What's sort of the plan beyond this fight if you do go out there and get the victory?
Yeah, continuing to, grow as a martial artist, continue to get better and improve. At 37, I just feel like there's a huge emphasis on age, especially in the sports world. And, I'm confident, and I believe that human beings are meant to live to 150 or something, like a tortoise. And I just think when you look at that from that perspective, 37 is pretty fucking young. I think age is a huge mental thing too. I think it's really easy to use the placebo effect for and against yourself. And I feel so good. I feel like the best, cupcakes that's ever been. I think that I would, manhandle my 24-year-old self with ease. And I just think it puts me in a position that I'm on the top of this bantamweight division still, whether it's the Cage Titans, title, there's some rematches that I'd love to get back in Cage Titans. If it's a next level, opportunity, I am always willing and ready. I think that the UFC is absolutely going to have their eye on this fight. They know my
Yep.
name, they know Kris very well. I think that he is on the list for someone that could be, on his way up right now. So I do believe that putting on a spectacular performance, as I intend, could even open the doors for something like that. I just think that in the world that we're in right now, it is like, what can you do for me right now? And if I smash the hell out of Kris, and then suddenly a 35 opportunity opens up in the UFC, you better believe that they'll be willing to consider me, because they know from history that I am able to get on that scale on 10 days notice and make weight, and I'm going to put on an incredible performance, and I'm going to absolutely bring electricity to that cage. So wherever it is, however it is, it's just more fighting for me. I love it. It's my favorite thing I've ever done. I love improving. I love working on the things that I'm not good at to get better. And yeah, at 37, I'm just going to keep on keeping on. We beat Kris, and we just call the entire world out.
I love it. And should mention, at the time we're recording this, UFC Edmonton's this Saturday. There's two 37-year-old bantamweights fighting each other, Chad Henniger and Cody Gibson. So, for anyone out there, using the being ageist, I guess we should say, you can throw that out the window, because the UFC, and Chad just signed a new contract. So obviously, if you're exciting, the UFC will bring you out. I got to say though, man, you look a little bit different than the last time I interviewed you. You got this like Chuck Norris vibe going. How come you don't lean into that a little bit more? Maybe that would get you some more attention too, although you're fighting well as well.
Yep, I get Chuck Norris every so often. I get a few people. I got that like white guy beard face that
it looks good. I wish I could grow a beard like that. Honestly, I got to be honest. I'm a little jealous.
I appreciate it.
It's looking good. It's looking good. It's Cage Titan 68 going to be airing live on Spectation Sports. So if you can't make it, well, first off, if you live in the area, you got to go to this card. It's amazing. If you're not, Spectation Sports is your home to watch this live. That's going to be November 9th. Johnny, this was great. Thank you so much for doing this. If there's anyone you want to thank before we get out of here, any sponsors, any social media you want to plug, I'll give you the last word.
Thank you, James. I appreciate it. Yeah, Ambassador Pools, my biggest and my favorite sponsor. They're always helping me out and making life much easier for me. So thank you to them. Thank you to Danny, the owner. South Shore Sport Fighting in Rockland, Massachusetts. If you're watching this and you're anywhere in that area, you should absolutely come down and give us a try. The best MMA gym within 100 miles, I would say. So please absolutely come on down. Social media, get at me on Twitch and Instagram, Cupcakes Gaming on Twitch, Instagram, Cupcakes Campbell. Give me a follow. I really appreciate it. It helps us out in a big way, having an audience and a platform that maybe companies want to be involved in. So, please get at me on those. And yeah, thank you so much, James. Thank you for, doing what you're doing. Thank you for the platform, and thank you for being able to tell my story. I appreciate it very much.